How to use the IN and OR functions in Google Sheets. If you've ever wanted to check whether data from your Google Sheets spreadsheet meets certain criteria, you can use IN and OR. These logical functions give you true and false responses, which you can use to sort through your data. If you use IN with multiple arguments, all of those arguments must be true to get a true response, otherwise, IN responds with false. If you use OR, only one argument has to be true for OR to provide a true response. You can use the IN function on its own or combined with other functions to provide a logical, true or false, test. To get started, open a Google Sheets spreadsheet and click an empty cell. Type equals and argument A, argument B, and replace each argument with the criteria you want to use. You can use as many arguments as you'd like, but you must have at least one for IN to work. In the example below, we used 3 arguments. The first argument is the simple calculation of 1 plus 1 equals 2. As all 3 arguments are true, the IN formula responds with true in cell A2. If we change any of these arguments, it will cause the IN formula in A2 to change the response from true to false. In the example below, the IN formula in cell A3 has 2 correct arguments and 1 that's incorrect, F3 equals 10. While F3 actually equals 3. This causes IN to respond with false. While IN requires all the arguments it uses to be true, the OR function only requires 1 to be true for OR to respond with true. Like IN, you can use the OR function on its own or combine it with other functions. The same is with IN. You can use as many arguments as you want, but you must have at least one for it to work. To use OR, click an empty cell and type equals OR, argument A, argument B, and replace the arguments with your own. In the example below, the formula using OR in cell A2 has 1 incorrect argument out of 3, F3 equals 10, where F3 actually equals 3. Unlike when you use IN, 1 incorrect argument out of 3 will result in a true result. For a false result, all the arguments you use must be incorrect. In the example below, the OR formulas in cells A4 and A5 returned a false response because all 3 arguments in both formulas are incorrect. Because IN and OR are logical functions with true and false responses, you can also use them with IF. When you use if an argument is true, it returns one value, otherwise, it returns another value. The format of a formula using if is equals if argument, value if true, value if false. For example, as shown below, equals if E2 equals 1, 3, 4, causes if to return the number 3 if cell E2 equals 1, otherwise, it returns the number 4. Because if only supports a single argument, you can use IN and OR to introduce complex logical tests with multiple arguments. To use IN within an if formula, type equals if and an argument 1, value if true, value if false, and replace your IN argument or arguments, and if true and if false values. In our example below, we used if with a nested IN formula in cell A2 with 4 arguments. All 4 arguments are correct, so the if true value, in this case, yes, is returned. In cell A3, a similar if with IN formula contains 2 incorrect arguments. As IN requires all arguments to be correct, if returns the if false value, which is a different text value, no. The same is with IN. You can also use OR with if to create a complex logical test. Only one OR argument has to be correct for if to return a true response. To use OR with if, click an empty cell and type equals if OR argument 1, value if true, value if false. In our examples below, the 2 if with OR formulas in cells A2 and A3 returned the if true text value, yes. All 4 arguments are correct in the A2 if with OR formula, while A3 has 2 incorrect arguments out of 4. In cell A4, all 4 arguments in the if with OR formula are incorrect. This is why the overall if formula returns the if false text value, no. Instead, text source, howtogeek.com.